welcome to another episode of the Content Clubhouse presented by The First Call. I'm your host, Nathan Moore, and this week, what an excellent conversation with truly one of the rising stars in both golf content creation, but really just sports media in general. Emma Carpenter, former Division I college golfer at the University of Minnesota, now with a list of roles and accolades longer than I can even list, even though I do try in this episode, working with PGA Tour Live, Golf Channel, Big Ten Network, you name it. And truly one of the most unique guests we've had on so far in terms of the professional goals in broadcast, capital J journalism, coinciding kind of with the golf content creation and trying to marry the two of those together to carve out a unique career path in modern day sports media. So without further ado, here's our conversation with Emma. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Content Clubhouse podcast, where today I have the pleasure of welcoming in Emma Carpenter. I had a hard time trying to put together a good intro for you just because of all the awesome things you've got going on right now. So I'm just going to list them and then we'll go from there. So on-air host and commentator for PGA Tour Live, a similar role with Golf Channel as well, doing sideline reporting and live commentary for Big Ten football on the Big Ten Network. Also with Gary Williams' Five Clubs podcast and kind of media network, as well as just, being a former Division I college golfer at Minnesota. So I guess my first question is, when do you sleep? And more importantly, how do you find time to play golf?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I've gotten that question a good amount. When do you sleep? And I think that for me, what's unique about choosing a career that's not in the corporate 9-to-5 world is that sometimes you have like a little bit of a break to look forward to. So for me, I would never, ever, ever say no to an opportunity or not be able to give an opportunity 100% of me because I was tired. I think that in general, it's important to make sure that you take care of yourself overall and your health and your nutrition. But I mean, especially when you're working on different time zones and you're flying all over the place, you're just not going to get a lot of sleep sometimes. But given that there's always going to be a day, hopefully, sometimes it's a couple weeks away, there will always be a day where you have to schedule some time to rest for yourself. So I would say that sometimes I might need to take like half a day when I get back from a really long leg of work and work trips to just zonk out. That's my answer to your question for when I sleep, because I will oftentimes go some stretches where I'm just go, and I love it, but it can catch up with you. So, and what was your second question? First question was, when do I sleep? Second question was...
Yeah, more importantly, for at least this podcast anyway, when do you play golf? Yeah.
Yes. So, luckily, I get the opportunity to play golf on site at some of the events that I work. So I always take up those chances if I get them to get out on the golf course. But it's been nice taking a step away from competitive golf, knowing that if I don't play well, it's okay. So I think that for a really long time, it was really stressful for me because I knew anytime I stepped onto the golf course, I was going to be really focused on how I played, and it was going to really affect me. Now, being able to play golf is so much more enjoyable because I'm always going to be competitive. I'm always going to want to play well. But if I don't, it's not the end of the world. So it's more of an escape than it was at times kind of an area of stress in the past.
That's really interesting. In having some of these similar conversations with former college athletes, especially in golf, that's kind of a common theme of how seriously you take the game versus enjoying it and kind of putting that competition aside. But for a lot of these people who are very much more... I guess I hesitate to even use the word traditional content creators because I don't think it's been around long enough for anything to be traditional about it. But I guess you're people who are out making golf vlogs and 9 holes with me, this, that, and the other. Golf is still very much their job, so they are still very locked into how well am I playing and kind of like the stress of that. And we'll definitely talk a little bit about that later, as well as your background with Minnesota, Sky Uma, absolutely, go Gophers. Want to hear about that. But again, as I kind of mentioned, you're very unique in terms of the golf content space, because unlike, the people doing the 9 holes in 90 seconds, you're creating golf content, but you're also so much a part of the traditional media, so to speak, in terms of, capital J journalism, live, on air, broadcasting. So I guess to the point I'm trying to hammer down here, how did you kind of find the balance between the two of those versus creating a brand as a content creator? Is that just a byproduct of the work you're trying to do on the field covering golf and football, or is it something else?
Short answer is yes. When I went in as a freshman in college, I wanted to pursue traditional sports broadcasting. So I studied sports journalism, broadcast journalism, and the content creation kind of started as an accident. And when the NIL rule changed the summer before my junior year of college, I got some advice to, hey, you got a little bit, at that point, I think I maybe had like 10,000 followers. And they said, hey, look, you got an opportunity with this NIL stuff to really grow your personal brand, and the exposure that you can get on social media can be really helpful for pursuing a career in traditional sports broadcast come graduation. And I had no idea how great of advice that would be, and I didn't know that there would actually be opportunities for me to work on social media as well, and just allow those two pillars of my career kind of piggyback off of each other with the social media and with the broadcast. But I'm really happy with the path that I chose, although the broadcast and the traditional media it's difficult, it's grind, it's long hours, it's not nearly as lucrative entry level as social media can be. So it's important for me as a journalist in general anyway to keep up with the social media, because nowadays that's part of being a journalist, which is something that 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, no one could have predicted. If you want to be a voice in sports media, you need to be active on social media. And having a platform is very, very valuable. So I think that the way that things have kind of naturally evolved in terms of media over the time while I was in college, while there was NIL, while I was still a competitive athlete, and then moving into this being my full-time career, it's something that we're constantly needing to adapt to. And I think that I keep on doing the best job that I can, and I'm really glad that I did put a focus on social media back in college as well. Although the initial path was sports broadcast, and social media has just kind of gotten woven in throughout.
Yeah. Well, going back to those college days, and honestly, even before that, doing some research on this, growing up in Minnesota, you obviously played college golf at University of Minnesota, but in high school, I see your 4 years all-conference selection playing on the boys team in high school. Again, making the most of the relatively few warm and nice days up in Minnesota to play some good golf. How long was it before you were beating not just the local girls growing up, but the boys as well, and when you really started to think golf is kind of what I want to do?
Yeah, so I started playing golf when I was 12, which is pretty late compared to a lot of the girls that I was competing against in college. I actually grew up in Illinois. I grew up in DeKalb, Illinois, and got recruited to play up at the University of Minnesota, where I committed to play the summer after my freshman year of high school. And it's funny, there was not a girls team at the time, and any girls who did play golf for DeKalb High School, where I'm from, they would play as an individual in girls events. And my dad had the idea to go out for the boys team and compete on the boys team. And so right when I picked it up when I was 12, I kind of just went straight into it. Full speed ahead, off to the races, started playing a bunch of golf tournaments, and then when I was 14 years old, on the first day of high school tryouts, 3 rounds of stroke play, and coach brought me up to the forward tees, and I said, hey coach, I want to play the back tees and try to make the boys team. And he kind of laughed at me and said, you can do whatever you want, you can play back there if you want to. And so I did, and I made the team straight up, and coach actually still didn't play me the first event, even though, so you play 5, and I came in 4th at tryouts, he still didn't play me, and then I played on JV boys instead of boys varsity, and then went on to score well again and play well again. So then he started playing me on boys varsity, and then by the time I was a sophomore, he was playing me at number one. So I think that definitely that experience of playing on the boys golf team in high school prepared me in ways for college that I couldn't even put into words, really. I think I got so much better at golf facing that much adversity and having to play from, I mean, I played further back in high school than I did in college. And it really forced me to develop my power game, develop my short game. And I think that I think that if it weren't for that experience and if things didn't go the way that they did, I wouldn't be the golfer I am today. I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yeah. Well, on the course at Minnesota, you had a very successful career. But as you've kind of mentioned already, you kickstarted your, I guess, professional career very much while you were still at Minnesota and still, really being a full-time collegiate golfer. If you had to say, how did your amateur career on the course lend itself to or kind of help open some early doors for your professional career off the course?
Gosh, the work that I did in college while still being a full-time student athlete was invaluable for my career, truthfully. I was able to finish my collegiate career as a competitive golfer and as a student and still have years worth of experience as a broadcaster. While I was in college, I started working for the Five Clubs Golf Podcast. I started putting out a bi-weekly podcast. I did that with Gary Williams and with Jay Billis, but I was doing my own podcast episodes, my own segment with college players, with college coaches, with professional players, with former professional players, with other broadcasters, and I was pumping those out. I started working for our Gopher Digital Productions, where I was calling play-by-play, doing color commentary, being a sideline reporter. I did that for volleyball, men's basketball, women's basketball, soccer, baseball, softball, women's hockey. I did every single sport on the commentary side for Big Ten Plus, besides men's hockey and football. I did every single one. And I started working for the 3M Open. I was working for the Minnesota Golf Show as the ambassador for the 3M Open. I started doing some work on social media, and I was also singing the national anthem for the sporting events because I felt like that was also good to just kind of put myself out there. And I mean, it was truthfully like all of those things and never saying no to anything. And I was doing all of this while still being a full-time student athlete. They helped set me up for where I'm at now, and I was able to start putting my name out there in particularly the golf space, but also the sports space as well, and also get that experience to be able to put together a demo reel with tons of reps by the time I was finished being a student. I mean, sometimes it takes years to get those kinds of reps, and that's kind of what being a broadcaster is all about, just getting as many reps as possible. So if I hadn't really gone out of my way to do all that work and kind of kick my own butt doing it, then I definitely would not be where I am, and I'm really, really grateful for that time, and I'm grateful for everything that the university gave to me, because the university, the athletic department, my college team, they were so supportive of me. They gave me so many opportunities, and I couldn't have imagined it anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely put in a ton of work in college into, honestly doing more professional work than a lot of people do in their first few years, out of college, working at a normal kind of job. But how did you balance, at that time, were you still giving any consideration to golf after college, maybe trying to pursue anything in that vein? Or did you kind of know, hey, freshman, sophomore year, I'm going to keep playing golf, but I'm going to use this as a platform to go be, a TV journalist?
Yeah, well, so kind of how the story goes is that when I went in as a freshman, I wanted to see how good I could get at golf. I actually, prior to my freshman year of college, I was always more focused on my music. I've got a singing background, and I was always more focused on that than I was on golf. And I thought to myself, I want to see if this is something that I can really pursue and make a living at one day, if I could be a professional golfer. And when I was around a sophomore, junior in college is when I started doing all of the outside media and sports media. And something that was so funny was that I actually started playing better golf once I started doing all of that outside work, which is so funny because I was a lot more sleep deprived, I was a lot more overworked, but I was doing things that made me feel like myself and made me feel so fulfilled, and that translated into better golf. And ironically, that better golf taught me that playing golf wasn't what I was really meant to do, because I had so many other passions off the golf course. And there were certainly times where I would have a good round or a good tournament, and I would have my coaches or my parents say to me, like, "Are you sure you don't want to play professional golf? This professional golf might be for you." And I definitely thought about it at times, but I was just so excited about so many other things, and I knew that I wanted golf to stay a part of my life. But I think that I looked at some other people that I played with, and what they wanted to do in terms of the hours that they wanted to put in all of their time out on the golf course, practicing and grinding to just one goal. And I commend them for it. I got so much admiration for people who play professional golf. And for me, I was so passionate and working hard at all of these other things. And if I had only golf and that was it, I just didn't think that was for me, and that was the lifestyle for me, because I just it wasn't what made me as happy and fulfilled me as much as some of the other things that I think make up the person that I am.
Well, talking about kind of the role that golf has filled in your life to this point and kind of where it is now, again, I talked about off the top you being unique in terms of the conversations we've had with other golf content creators, in that, be they former college players where, hey, it was every day, wake up, eat, sleep, golf. Now it's still the same thing, just kind of through the content lens. Clearly for you, you've got a lot of other stuff going on. How would you say golf ranks kind of in your level of importance? Not even just playing well, but like producing golf content, or even working in golf as a broadcaster? Because I know you mentioned the work you do with the 3M Open, the work you do with 5 clubs, calling stuff on PGA Tour Live, but I know you must like some Gopher football as well as presumably other football as well. How do you see golf fitting in now and going forward?
Totally. I mean, the dream is to do golf and football. I say everybody watches football and everybody plays golf. And I've always, of course, loved golf and played it at a really high level, and always been a really huge football fan, and just love the atmosphere in football and everything about it. And I think that when it comes to my playing career, I never ever want to lose that. I never want to stop making golf content. I never want to stop just kind of let my game go away. I think that that's part of when you talk about me differentiating myself as a broadcaster, as a content creator, for those reasons. I think that I always want to be able to also differentiate myself because of my golf skill and knowledge and expertise. And so for me, as much as right now in these early years of my career after college, and how I am very focused on the traditional broadcast, even though right now just point blank period, it's not as lucrative, it's very difficult, it's such a grind, but it will pay dividends in the end. And I think that that's important to never lose sight of those goals. But so if I have an opportunity to play golf, but I had an opportunity to do a broadcast for a Big Ten network for a football game, of course I would do the broadcast. However, I am always going to make it a priority to still be creating golf content, and to still always have that as a part of my brand, not only because it differentiates me, but also because I love it, and it's part of what makes me who I am. When I talk about feeling fulfilled and feeling happy and who I am, golf is always going to be a part of that, and that's not just me talking about it, that's me also playing it as well.
Gotcha. So the dream is more Jim Nantz rather than like Tisha Allen, I guess, if you had to put it that way.
And you know what? Maybe the dream is a mix between the two, and the dream is my own path. because there are so many people that I look up to and am inspired by. But what's so cool about sports nowadays is that, and sports media, is that there are kind of lots of different paths that are being carved out, and maybe it'll be something that's my own. But
Yeah,
I'm not gonna give up on any part of what I love and what I'm good at.
absolutely. So to kind of dive in a little bit to kind of the business side of both of these things. So, in conversations with other folks, looking at the behind the scenes of what it means to make a living as a golf content creator, which is very different from, as you mentioned with the broadcast media side. I guess, can we, without, don't need to give any details that you're certainly uncomfortable with, but like, what has that kind of been like in terms of balancing the two from a paying like rent perspective? Like, how are you dedicating your time to pursuing partnerships as a content creator versus, freelance gigs or travel, as a broadcast journalist?
Yeah, honestly, I tell you what, Nathan, I'm an open book, and I will tell this to anyone. It's the thing about traditional broadcast. What's different in sports broadcast as opposed to social media is that there's only so many spots, and when there's a football game going on, there might be 100 accounts who can post their takes on the football game, who can post memes on the football game, humor, whatever it is, breakdowns, who can find a way to monetize it. However, there's only 3 spots who are actually on the broadcast for that live game. There's a play-by-play person, there's an analyst, there's a sideline reporter, right? So, with that being said, if you won't do it for X amount of money, somebody else will, because it's a dream, and I would do it for free, and I would 100% do it for free. Um, the truth of it is, any entry level broadcaster knows this, that you got to pay your dues. You gotta get in there. You got to work. You got to grind. You have to absolutely love it. Lisa Byington told me that when she first started out as a broadcaster, she would cover high school sports. She would go, she would shoot the game herself. She'd go to the bathroom and she would put on makeup and she'd change, and then she would do her stand-ups and she would shoot herself and she would edit it all together. And I mean, if that doesn't show you right there that's what she was committed to doing, and she would do whatever it took to get there, and she wasn't doing it for the money, then I don't know what does. And of course, when you think about the Jim Nantz's of the world, when you think about all of the Scott Van Pelt's of the world, I mean, it's safe to say that those people are making a comfortable living doing what they love to do. But of course, in entry level, it isn't that way. And social media is so lucrative. And I think that, so for me, when you talk about paying rent, I'm going to take every single broadcasting opportunity that comes my way. I'm trying to get better as a broadcaster. I'm trying to move forward in my career and take steps in my career, and none of that would be a waste of time, even if I weren't making any money whatsoever. So, with that being said, of course, I still need to be able to support myself. So I still am very choosy with a lot of the deals that I want to take on social media, because I want it to be a good reflection of my own personal brand. And kind of the way that it works is similar to how I said with putting out golf content as well. When I think about broadcasting being my dream, that's always going to take priority. But I'm going to need to carve out time when I'm not doing a broadcast deal to be able to do some other things that can help, of course, make my living. And a lot of that stuff can be on social media. But if it's in a hosting position where I can be on site and I can put out promotional content that's for a golf tournament, or I can help moderate a Q&A, or I can help host other kinds of donor events. A lot of that as an MC perhaps, and it involves social media content. That still is furthering my skills as a broadcaster, but it's an opportunity to help make a living.
Yeah. And from a content perspective, that is a lot of those things you just mentioned is a lot of what, if you open up your Instagram, that you'll see that type of thing. And so when you're thinking about the content that you're posting, how much, and it'd be hard to imagine that you would have a lot of time to plan this out, but are you planning like, hey, I'm going to go out and shoot XYZ just on my own on the golf course so that I have something to post this week? Or are most of these golf kind of activations you're doing, are those kind of covering your bases from a content perspective?
That's a good question. So basically, I will plan out what I want to post based on where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be posting about. And then usually if I do have a day where I am home in LA and I have know where I need to physically be from an event standpoint, then that's when I'll schedule time to go out and shoot my own content.
Gotcha. And how much time would you say you spend thinking about, for instance, we talked to Daniel Saloner, Short Game King, who was on the latest Creator Classic up here at East Lake, and talking to him, I mean, he spends hours agonizing over the hook, like testing what's going to work on this video, what's not. And again, he's very much a different creator in that, like, purely his content is his job. He's not doing anything else. Do you work in any similar kind of fashion? It's hard to imagine that you could, but just curious.
I think that it would be foolish to call yourself a content creator and not be thinking about what makes something go viral. Definitely, I think that part of, at times, why I'm thankful that I'm not a full-time content creator is because that stuff can drive me crazy at times. Like, sometimes I have said it before, and I've said it before where it's like some people have it figured out. I don't always have it figured out. I just really don't. And when it comes to social media, it's like I have this video that went viral and I have this video that didn't, and I really can't figure out why. It's hard. It's not easy. Like, of course, content creation is an awesome career for so many reasons, but it's definitely difficult for a lot of reasons. And when you think about what makes when you think about what makes content good content and what makes content go viral, a lot of that stuff gets so tedious, and it definitely it can be frustrating at times.
For sure. Well, you brought up mentioned Scott Van Pelt, who, hand up, I'm a huge fan of his, love watching Bad Beats especially, but you've got to do a lot of really cool activations recently. Again, a quick look at your Instagram shows, moderating that event for Chase Sapphire. I think that was at the PGA Championship. You're just at SoFi Stadium for a concert, played in the Pro-Am through the title sponsor, I think at the Pro Core of the PGA Tour event. So we've heard from a lot of other creators as to how those partnerships work for them, but none of them are exactly like yours. It's kind of hosting role, I guess. So just curious, can you take us inside that process? Are they reaching out to you on Instagram? Like, how do these partnerships come to fruition?
Yeah, so I have a website that I kind of check regularly, and I put out my work email, and also I have representation that helps get in touch with a lot of these title sponsors and companies and brands. And on the golf side, it's kind of a small world. I think that once you've kind of done some work, then and once you kind of put your name out there and you meet some people, you will meet lots of other people. So I think that hopefully there's a chance that I'll get the opportunity to work with lots of other brands who maybe we already know of each other. And I think that that's something that's super helpful in getting work. I think that something that is important is to, like you said, always be putting out your own golf content, because that's how people are going to find you. Whenever I post a video or do a post that does really well is all of a sudden when I feel like I'm getting lots of momentum on jobs, or it's even if I am posting a job that I just did and it's kind of picking up a little bit, that's when I feel like my inbox starts filling up of some more inquiries to do some other things that are similar, or maybe something completely different, but that they found me that way. So yeah, that answers your question, I think.
Yeah. And a lot of these activations, at least the ones that I've seen, have been kind of in the golf space. Is that still, like, from that standpoint, the lane that you want to be in, or are you equally as interested in, for example, football, doing something similar with that?
Definitely. I think that golf is always going to be the space that I have the most insight in, that I have the most for now at least, of course, the most relationships in, and the most experience, of course. So I think that golf is always going to be a part of it, a part of me. But definitely, as someone who is a sports journalist in general, my sport that I'm really most focused and interested in getting into now is football. But if I had an opportunity in another sport, I would take it 100%, because as much as golf is kind of my niche, I want to expand my voice and my space, my face, and my brand in sports overall.
Very cool. Well, before I get you out of here, I do want to ask about some exciting stuff you might have coming up that you're able to share. But, for somebody who's, so young, like I'm 26, it's rare that I come into contact with somebody who makes like me feel like the old guy a little bit. But, you've done so much already in your career. You've talked a little bit about where you want to go, from a journalism perspective, from a broadcast perspective, as a creator. If I say, hey, at age 30, what is it being on the sideline for, Fox Big Noon Kickoff, or is it doing golf, or are you just like, whatever happens, it'll figure itself out, and I'm just happy to be doing it?
You know what, Nathan? I think I need to start getting a better answer when people ask me kind of like what the dream is, because I think sports media is changing so much, and like new shows are popping up, and it's new studio opportunities are popping up, and all that's happening with the podcasting, and all that's happening with with streaming. And it's just like I couldn't have predicted where my career would have gone over the last couple of years to where I am now. And so I feel like it's hard to predict where my career will go a few years from now. But I think it's important to have goals. So to answer your question, I love doing play-by-play for golf, and I have no plans of stopping doing play-by-play for PGA Tour. Now I do it for PGA Tour Live. If I had the opportunity to do it from a network standpoint, that would be unbelievable. I think that also anything that I can do in golf as from the reporting side as well. I'd love to do post-round interviews. I'd love to do studio work. On the football side, I loved reporting for football. Big Noon Kickoff, absolutely. If I could do NFL, that would be unbelievable. Love the NFL. But then also, I have been interested in getting more into YouTube golf. I've been interested in getting into more on-course playing content, and I still want that to be a part of me. I'm definitely still interested in going on site to PGA Tour events and other sporting events and doing some promotional work. Always interested in working with other people. I'm always interested in interviewing other people, and always interested in like moderating for Scott Van Pelt for a Q&A for Chase. That was awesome. So it's like the goal is to kind of do what I'm doing, but grow and build it. And a lot of what I'm doing right now is freelance. So if when I'm 30, I have long-term network deals, that would be the dream. But I always want to weave in everything else that I'm working on and that I love. And it's kind of like, we'll see what happens. I'm going to take every opportunity, and I'm going to work hard. And it's always important to me to be a person that people want to work with and that people want to be around. So I'm going to stay true to myself and my attitude and my energy, and see where life takes me.
Well, I have no doubt it'll take you to exactly where you want to be. So that's really good stuff. Again, thank you so much for coming on, Emma. Again, people listening can follow her at Emma Carpenter on Instagram, TikTok. She gets on the YouTube, check that out as well. So again, thanks so much for coming on and sharing some insight.